The 8:30 High Beam this morning, we are going to talk with the docs, and we've got two of them in here this morning. Good morning to Dr. Tim McKnight and Dr. Mike Jakubowski. You guys doing well, I hope, collectively and individually?
Good morning. Yeah,
I think so, yeah.
Okay, well, good. And today, it's always interesting to me to see what you can talk about as far as bringing things together. So in just a minute, we'll see how we deal with arthritis. We do want to remind you that this morning's Talk with the Doc, sponsored by Mako's Pharmacy, 240 East 3rd Street in downtown Yorksville. It's your local pharmacy with a caring and knowledgeable staff focused on your health and wellness. And also brought to you by Twin City Chiropractic at 205 Grant Street in downtown Denison, as Dr. Mike Jakubowski and Dr. Andrew Worst specialize in personalized chiropractic care, incorporating nutrition and best practices to promote healing and wellness. So let me get it back to you guys. And arthritis. What is it? Are there a lot of kinds? Does it affect a lot of people? I imagine it does. And what do we do about it? There you go.
That's a big topic. It's wide open, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, there's several different types. The most common is osteoarthritis, which is a joint degeneration, primarily from wear and tear and aging. Rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune condition, completely different approach than what we want to talk about today. But osteoarthritis is something that all of us have probably felt or will feel at some point in our lives. And again, it's just a breakdown of the cartilage, and it becomes bone on bone, a lot of inflammation. And so there's a lot of things that we can do to live more comfortably with it, or even not feel its effects until much, much later in life. And Mike, do you want to add anything from there? Because I'll talk about some things that I do in my office. But
Okay.
Dr. J's got great things that he does in his practice that can really relieve people of their pain.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we see is everybody's going to get arthritis at some point in their lives. So that's the thing. I'll have the 67-year-old patient come in, and they'll be like, well, you take an x-ray, and they're surprised arthritis is on the x-ray. And does that mean you should have pain because you have arthritis on your x-ray? Well, everybody's going to have it, but you don't have to live with pain. And that's the biggest thing with joint tissue is, and we've talked about this before here, is movement. Joints have poor blood supply to them, so the way they get nutrients and the way they stay healthy is by motion. But when we don't use things, they deteriorate. Your body's reaction is, boy, this joint's not being used. The cartilage tissue breaks down, it calcifies it into bone, and then that's basically what arthritis is. So that's the biggest thing that we see is nutrition's a big part of it. There's so many different types of arthritis, so how do we attack those and prevent it affecting our lives as we get older? And exercising and moving, and if we have injuries, is to make sure that we treat them properly so it doesn't progress with arthritis in the joint tissue.
Yeah, and one of the things I wanted to say is I think about the joints in my body that I have problems with. They're from old injuries. They tend to be either an old injury or an overuse injury repeatedly over and over again. And that's the first thing that people need to understand is if you hurt your knee, your shoulder, your hip, your wrist, a finger, make sure that you get it taken care of correctly, get it rehabilitated, go through the physical therapy and all those steps that you're told to do, even if it doesn't make sense, because we're trying to restore the normal motion of the joint. And that's where Dr. J comes in, because his therapies and his treatments really help people to do that. Because if you don't correct the mechanical defect of that joint, it's going to continue to injure. So that's the first thing, is correct that defect. And sometimes it's really muscle balance and stretching some muscles and strengthening others to help prevent that joint from further injury. But this is an inflammatory process, and we don't want continued inflammation to progress, and we want to sort of come in through the back door with anti-inflammation. So that's where people jump right into anti-inflammatories like ibuprofen and Advil Aleve, and those can be okay temporarily, but those have long-term potential side effects and consequences, so you don't want to have to live on those. So the anti-inflammatory approaches that I recommend is first an anti-inflammatory diet, which is it's a healthy diet that you get from the produce section of the grocery store. It's not fast foods. It's not high sugar, high fat, dehydrogenated fats, those kind of foods that cause inflammation. So you eat a healthy plant-based diet, number one. Number two is then you can supplement on top of that with anti-inflammatories. And one of the best anti-inflammatory supplements is turmeric, or from the curcumin plant. And a lot of people have relief with that. I've seen relief with that. And then you can do CoQ10 and you can do fish oil and other anti-inflammatory supplements. But remember, that's about 10% of the anti-inflammatory properties that you're looking for. Food is about 90% of it. People overlook that. They want the quick fix.
So the proper diet can help, first of all, prevent, but it also can help in the recovery process.
Helps in recovery and helps to keep the inflammation under control. And then Dr. Jacobowski has had some great success with a supplement that he uses in his office that I've used, and I think your glucosamine that works really well.
There's a lot of good research that says glucosamine, which is a nutrient your joint tissue, the cartilage tissue, feeds off of. And the one we typically recommend in our office is something called a Glucosamine Synergy, and it has glucosamine in it, which the joint tissue feeds off of, plus an anti-inflammatory, turmeric, and boswellia root, which is great natural anti-inflammatories, because we know taking pills like Advil, ibuprofen, when they're needed, necessary, but they also have side effects of long-term use of them. You know, we can create ulcers in our stomachs. We can create kidney damage just by long-term. And I have patients come in the office and say, boy, I take 400 milligrams of Advil every day, twice a day. And I've been doing it for so many years. Well, those side effects aren't good. And the best anti-inflammatory is, again, when we look at osteoarthritis, is the typical sign is I get up in the morning, I'm in so much pain, I'm stiff, but as I move throughout the day, it gets better, I feel looser, and that's basically your joint moving, pushing the inflammation out. And that's why you feel better. And that's what we do in our office is when we see people with these type of problems is we basically try to restore mechanics, because if we're doing that, they're feeling better. And then we worry about the metabolic syndromes people have, like diabetes. If you're a smoker, these are things that are going to increase arthritis, increase inflammation, and cause more problems for people.
I know some people reject the rehab, or it hurts so much, but that's what you're trying to get to,
right?
Yeah, and sometimes I think that's a communication issue. People don't understand, and I, even as a medical professional, I didn't understand some of the things I needed to do with my back pain till I really understood the mechanics. And Dr. J's been great at teaching me that I wasn't really fully empowered to correct the mechanical issues to reduce the arthritic pain that I have in different places in my back. And I have to tell you, we've had two people that I can just think in right at the top of my head in our Fit for Life class. One guy in the last year was in the class last January. He's lost 85 pounds. Now, when he came in, he was using a walker, he was using a cane. You could just see the pain all over his face, a lot of back issues and neck problems. He's lost 85 pounds. He's cleaned up his diet. He's moving more, and he is so much healthier. And that's what I'm talking about. People talk about obesity like we shouldn't talk about that. That's offensive. But it really causes a lot of inflammation. Of course, that extra weight on the joints is hard. And another point I wanted to make is that some people that are in so much pain, they really can't do much. If you could, the best place to start, and I think Dr. J would agree with this, is in a swimming pool. Get in a swimming pool, go to a therapy place or the YMCA, and just move around in a swimming pool. Take gravity out of the equation so you're not pounding on the joints, and move the joints. That will help you. But of course, if you're overweight, you've got to lose that weight if you really want to see a reduction in the pain.
I love water therapy. It's the best thing, especially for people that are not, they're like, I can't go to the gym, I can't get on a bike, I can't move my knees. Yeah, it stinks getting in a bathing suit and then getting in the pool, but they'll feel so much better. And I think that's the biggest thing is once they start moving, boy, this hurts the first couple of weeks, like anybody does that exercises, is you're sore in the beginning, but as you do it more, you just feel better, and mentally you feel better. So that's the biggest thing with this arthritis is, do you smoke? Boy, I mean, obviously we all know this. You shouldn't be smoking. Well, that creates more problems with arthritis. Drinking alcohol also. We see it in our office. People that drink a lot of alcohol, their hips tend to break down faster, and they need hip replacements faster because of that type of stuff. And we have all these therapeutics, but the biggest thing is movement. So you can get cortisone injections. You can do those things that help reduce the inflammation and make you feel better. But long-term use of these type of things just cause more issues, because we know cortisone injections break down the bone. They break down the joint faster for long-term use of them. So we just want to be careful of how much of that we use and really look at how can I help myself by movement, eating properly, and reducing some of those things that are bad for us, like sugars and all those other things that we include in our diet that we need to limit.
check with your own doctor if you're wondering what you should do, and I'm sure they'll have some advice and where to go from here.
And trust them, even though it may not make sense. Trust them, because we really want to see people improve. And as Mike said, movement is key. You've got to move. I've noticed just in my own rehabilitative process, I had a minor surgery a couple weeks ago, and I was sitting around. Boy, was I stiff. All those arthritic joints, and I was going stir crazy in the recliner. I needed to get up and move. And once I started doing that, I felt so much better. So movement is key. Preventing inflammation with healthy lifestyles, the correct diet, correcting the mechanical defects, and asking, why is this a problem? How did I create this problem? What's the muscle or the ligament problem that caused this joint issue? And try to correct that first. Get to the root cause. Don't look for the Band-Aid approach, because, as you said, that's not going to work for you long term, and it's going to create more problems.
Right.
And the last thing I want to say, for people that are like, well, I don't have a membership to the Y, or I don't have access to a swimming pool. If you talk to some of the local hotels that have pools, just ask them, hey, can I use your pool for $30 a month, or maybe they'll have a deal for you, because a lot of these local areas, this is an opportunity that you can take advantage of. So there's always a way you can find a way to get into a swimming pool, I think.
All right.
Yeah, and like Dr. McKnight said, movement is key, and that's basically what, as a chiropractor and teaching people about mechanics, that's basically what we do. What we do is nothing magical. We just kind of look at someone's dysfunction, and we get the joint tissue moving properly. And when we do that, fluid is rushed in and out of the joint tissue to get the inflammation out, and people feel better. The key is to keep that up. And that's the hard part, because we get stuck in our everyday lives. We sit at a computer all day. We do these certain things. Those dysfunctions develop again, and then the pain returns, and then you're looking for help again. How can I get rid of this? But a good exercise, stretchy routine is key for that.
There you go. You guys, you were moving pretty good coming in today, so it was a great example. Thank you.
Thanks for noticing. Yeah.
So Dr. Timothy McKnight and Dr. Mike Jakubowski this morning on Talk with the Docs. That is our 8:30 high beam here on the BT Morning Show.